Hello everybody, welcome back to another weather video. Today I'll be taking a look at Tropical Storm Nicholas as it starts to impact the south and make its way gradually off the coast. And we also will take a look at the other potential threats of tropical systems forming in the Atlantic. And before we end the video, we will take a look at the CPC weather outlook for the remainder of the month pretty much. Right now, this is the infrared of Nicholas, and as you can see, it is a mess at this point. If we were to stop this at the very last frame, yeah, real quick, the low pressure system is just, I would say, northeast of Galveston, around in this area, and pretty much the bulk of the precip is very far to the east. The shear is starting to shear this thing on top of it being on land. It is quickly decreasing in strength. Before it made landfall, it did go up to Category 1 hurricane at 75 miles per hour, 991 millibars. But now, if you were pretty much west and even a couple hundred miles east of the system, you're not going to see much rain. But it just so happens to be the heaviest part of the rain is over where Ida tracks. So, in parts of New Orleans, Louisiana, Mississippi, even into parts of Alabama and the panhandle of Florida. You will see that in a moment. But as you can see, if we go back, there is a little bit of rotation in here that where the low pressure system is. But besides that, like once again, the bulk of the precip is very far eastwards. And back towards the west, it's just clouds, maybe a little bit of gusty winds. It is right now, I believe it's at a 40-mile-per-hour storm, if not just about to go into tropical depression status. And yeah, that is pretty much it on infrared. So if we take a look at the National Hurricane Center here, this is nationalhurricanecenter.com if you want to look this up. As you can see here, back towards Texas and Louisiana, you have Tropical Storm Nicholas. Right now it is in fact at 40-mile-per-hour storm, so just getting ready to go into tropical depression status. It is right now at 103 millibars and it is moving east-northeast at 7 miles per hour here. 6 knots if you are don't know mile per hour. But if we go towards the Bahamas here, we have another formation of a tropical storm. Could be depression, storm, hurricane. If it even gets to that, I doubt it will as of now. But this is as of 2 p.m. It has a 40% chance of formation in the next 48 hours, and 5 days it has a 60% chance of organization. Even if this storm does form, it looks like it's going to make its way up to the northeast and curl out. As of right now, all models do indicate this happening. Nicholas is going to dissipate over land, and eventually its remnants are going to go off the shore if it even makes it there in time. And then you have this system out by Africa, a wave that just came off, and it has a very high percent chance of forming in the next 48 hours, and even greater chance of forming in the next 5 days, as a 90% chance of forming. Now, I believe the storm that just hit Canada, please, if I get this wrong, I'm sorry, but I think I forgot the name of it, but I will look that up in a moment. But it did make landfall as a hurricane, but it went into Greenland and dropped tons of snowfall on the eastern parts of Greenland. There was some measurements above 3 feet, obviously. It is cold up there, it obviously is able to snow, but the landfall went right in between these two islands right here. So St. John, I know, had a couple inches of rain and some strong gusty winds. It was around 50s to 80 range right there. So high-end tropical storm to just Category 1 gust. And the rest, that was pretty much it. It was moving at 45, 50 miles per hour towards the northeast. It was going really fast, so thankfully it couldn't drop that much rain, but it did pack a punch because when a storm is moving fast, the rain won't be a huge factor. But since it's moving so fast, it actually increases the winds in a way. We'll get more into that later. But also, one last thing before we move on. Since the storm was moving so fast, it couldn't weaken in time due to colder waters. Once it was down here, it was moving slow. That's why it got up to Category 3, maybe Category 4 strength. I gotta look into that. But as it made its way up here, it started going 40, 50 miles per hour towards the northeast, so it really didn't have that much time to weaken. And lastly, before we move on, once again, this does have a mediocre chance of forming. Even if it does form, which we will take a look in a little bit, it is most likely, as of right now, as we know, Hurricane Henry was supposed to curve out like this before, but as we all know, it made landfall Rhode Island, Connecticut area. As of right now, this storm is gonna maybe form, as the models don't really show this even getting over tropical storm strength, but we'll see how this goes. If we take a look at the HRRR, and before we move on with this, take it in fact that the models, especially the HRRR, always love to underdo the precip amount. So if we go look at this right now, this is HRRR, the latest run as 3 p.m. So if we move to 4 p.m., this is what the radar should look like. And if we go to the Wonder Map, it's it does have that dry slot right here. It does have that, but it does kind of underdo the precip back over here. But it is not bad compared to the last run. The last run, this is what it was, and the run before that, as you can see, it had a lot more dry slots. But if we go back to the radar right now, you can see it's just north and east of Galveston. This is where the low pressure system is, and then the bulk of the precip is off to the east. So yeah, the HRRR isn't doing that bad with this right now, but if we continue to move on throughout the day, the precipitation will mostly start to fan out, but will form into more of a thunderstorm action as it starts to fade out and gets involved with the Gulf precipitation, Gulf moisture more. And you can see that it's more bandy than if we were to go back right now. You see, it's all bulked up into one area, but if we move on again, it becomes some more bandy action because it starts to interact with the Gulf moisture, like I just said, and starts to form little bands here. Now, this could bring some severe weather to parts of the south, and once this storm does eventually get moved on, I'll widen the forecast for you here. Once the storm does get to move on, and you have the other storm over here, I have seen some models try to bring this together, but I really do doubt that. And maybe it might tangle the precipitation a little bit, but as you can see, 44 hours out, this is Thursday 10 a.m. The low pressure is gone. If you were to guess where it is, it would be around New Orleans area. As you can see, it's just showery precipitation now. Nothing too impactful, nothing the South hasn't seen before. And then you have your low pressure system out over here, and then eventually it gets kicked out and goes to the northeast once again. Now, if we go to the GFS and take a look, you could see that Nicholas starts to fade away and weaken rather quickly, and then you have this storm go just off the North Carolina coast, according to the GFS. Maybe showers, maybe some steady rain if it does get its act together, but once that happens, it goes into Canada once again. It probably won't be strong at all, but it almost looks like a nor'easter type storm. It forms down by the Bahamas and starts to hook out just off the Nantucket coast. And then after that, you can see that a high pressure starts to form right off the coast. Now, what I'm about to show you is the WPC's outlook, so it pretty much aligns with this. You have a trough in the west bringing down cold air. You have snow, actually, in the mountains here. And if we switch over to the WPC, as you can see, these are the chances of being above average and below average here. 90% anywhere stretching from central Indiana all the way back into central New York here, and as far south as northern South Carolina. And if we go to the west, the darker blues is the higher chance of being below average, so Washington, Idaho, Oregon here. And then as you make your way towards the east, the chances decrease of having more colder 6 to 10 day outlook and increase to more above average temperatures here. If we switch to the 8 to 10 day, the chances of having above average and below average decrease because it's farther out, but as you can see, it's pretty much the same. Anyway, once again, from Indiana all the way out into New Hampshire, maybe even Maine. If they do get closer to this happening, they will probably extend it out to Maine. And then as you can see out in the west, it's still cold. If we take a look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, this is pretty much from Nicholas down here. This is all the precipitation that's happening. But as you notice, you do have above average precipitation in the west. This could cause some mountain snow, as we've seen by the GFS. You could see some mountain snow in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho here, maybe even to most northern parts of Utah. But due to it being so cold out there, it does happen. And then eventually this ridge could break into the latter part of the run here. It has been doing this for some runs now. As you can see, this cold shot was really cold if this were to happen, but it has since backed off. You do have a little bit of a trough down into the northeast, but if we take a look, it's nothing impressive on 850 millibar. But at the end of the run, take in mind that this is 384 hours out. This could change. If we take a look at last run, see there was a ginormous ridge in the Midwest Plains area and down into the Colorado Rockies. But on this run, it is still there, but it's not as strong as you can see. And you do also have a trough out in the east. But do take in mind this is very far out. And finally, the 8 to 14 day precipitation. You still have a little bit above average precipitation in the northwest, northern Oregon, and all of Washington. You do have this strip above average precipitation all the way from New York all the way down to southern Texas. But all of Colorado has a big chance of seeing below average precipitation that won't help the wildfires out there and all the way into northern parts of California out here. Thank you all for watching, and if you watched this video through, thank you once again. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you later.